What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 101 of the Lombard Trucking Show. Sorry for my voice, but after that Texas Longhorns game on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, we're getting a little rowdy down there on the drag right by UT's campus. Got to see the Bevo Stampede. Great blowout win against those Red Raiders from Lubbock, Texas. So I'm just getting my voice back, but glad to be back here for this episode. Coming soon. Hope to lay it down this week. You're going to get my full opinion and reaction of the Ridley Scott's Napoleon movie, which was underwhelming at best, is the best way to put it. Inaccuracies aside, the movie itself just really wasn't put together that well. But I'm going to post a full reaction to that soon because I know there's some people who are looking to hear about it. And as opposed to actually being a historian, let's hear it from just a guy with an opinion. But anyways, got a great show for you today. Something in this industry that doesn't go talked about enough is when it comes to health insurance. You know, we talk about benefits a lot with carriers and what carriers offer, but also what small businesses deal with. And if you don't know, more than half of the power units who are on the road today are operated by small independent carriers from 1 to 100 trucks. And for those companies, depending on how they're paying their drivers, whether it be 1099 or W-2, getting benefits is another expense on an industry and on businesses in an industry whose profit margins are already razor thin. So offering benefits is very difficult for the small businesses in this industry, and for even the independent one truck owner operators. Them having health coverage is sometimes something that goes unnoticed. They will go without it, and as I talk about on the show with health and fitness a lot, that's something that drivers just can't risk. Now, I was fortunate when I got into the industry. One of the reasons why I ended up getting my own truck is because I knew that healthcare costs wouldn't really matter because I utilized the VA, something that I also like to help direct drivers towards, especially veterans who are members of CDL Drivers Unlimited. But we at CDLDU, we're working with a company, BMT Health, and their CEO is finally coming to join the show today to talk about his story, how he's got himself into the industry. So without any further delay, I want to welcome the CEO of BMT Health, Mr. Drew Ellefsen, to the show. Let's bring it on in. How are we doing, sir?
Doing fabulous, buddy. How you doing?
Can't complain. Not too bad. Really, really glad to have you here. It's an interesting story hearing about what you're doing in your partnership with CDL Drivers Unlimited. But let's start with how we got here, man. What's your story? Where are you from? How did we get here today?
I am from the west suburbs of Chicago, born and raised. Hated school, despised school, couldn't wait to graduate and get out of school. And I didn't get into the NFL. That was plan A. Plan B was to coach football and be a gym teacher. That required more schooling, so plan B wasn't an option. So I started personal training, and I worked in the gyms for about a decade up in Chicago. Started training, got into sales, and ultimately was running health clubs. And as I was turning 29 years old, I looked at my life and I said, I eat, sleep, and breathe this business, right? I eat, sleep, and breathe this gym, but I'm making the same amount of money today as I was making when I was, 20 years old in my first management gig. So ultimately, I got into the health insurance business to make more money and work less. That was my motivation, right? I didn't anticipate eventually getting to a point where I became so passionate about the business and the opportunity that it provides for agents in my industry, but also the opportunity that we have as experts to help people. And that's exactly what's happened to this day. So I started in this industry in 2005, and just like anybody else, was an agent, became a sales manager. Had my first partnership contract signed in 2012 or 2011. That went south. Opened my first agency in 2015, and started an advocacy firm in 2019, and that's what we've been doing ever since. So it's kind of a different side of healthcare from the gyms and the fitness arena, but it's one that has I can say made more money for me, but working less, I'm still working on that part.
Yeah, especially when it comes to starting your own business. Now, you say you're from the west suburbs of Chicago. You're not from Elk Grove Village, are you?
I'm not from Elk Grove Village. I'm very familiar with that area. I'm actually from Lombard.
That was going to be my next question. Did you happen to be from Lombard, Illinois? So you're
Lombard, yep.
yeah, good strong name for a town. I
That's it.
can't complain
Yes,
about
sir.
it. But the Elk Grove Village. Are you familiar with why with Elk Grove Village at all, or why a trucking show would bring it up?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, there's just that's where a lot of the Eastern European carriers are based out of, and some people who do different kinds of shady brokering, I guess is the best way to put it. It's basically a meme in the freight industry, Elk Grove Village. So,
That's funny you say. That actually makes a lot of sense because I know countless Eastern Europeans from that area, mainly from like Bolingbrook and Darien around there, that are in the trucking business.
Yeah, there's we've mentioned it on the show before of Illinois or Chicago-based carriers that always, raise red flags to brokerages and stuff like that. So that's why I asked. But love the fact that I've got a gentleman from Lombard, Illinois, on the Lombard Trucking Show. So this is pretty cool. You have to. Is that the name of the high school there? Is it Lombard High School?
No, Glenbard East is the high school. Yeah.
Dang, couldn't get that lucky. But all right, yeah. Moving on from that though, talking, discussing your into the agency side of things. Well, first off, you worked as a personal trainer at health clubs, and then you need to make a little bit more money. So you want to get into insurance sales. And I have a lot of friends who actually have had similar stories with selling life insurance. I think it's a pretty good career move. It's something that I had looked at one time. I know at New York Life was a company that stuck out. But what's different on your end, and what you said is, because I want to know the difference here, is you have the health insurance agency, but now you have an advocacy agency. Now, are those the same business or two separate things?
Two separate companies, but they really tie into each other in the sense that, the position that I took in the industry when building was that we were going to be the experts, right? I kind of looked at what some of the problems in the industry were. I'll tell you right now, the two biggest problems in our business are dishonest agents. And it's not even that, no fault to the agent, it's how they're trained, right? You have an organization that wants to sell a shitty product and sell it like it's the best thing since sliced bread, and they'll just pump it out in a one-size-fits-all fashion. Well, that's a big problem in our industry because a lot of people are insured with those products. So I wanted to position ourselves, my agents and our team, as the experts, right? So we always kind of took that approach where we're going to be your agent, but we're going to be here to support you when you need help, because now that you have the policy, how do you use it, right? And so it ties into the second biggest problem in the business, which is medical billing. The entire practice of medical billing is a joke, right? And so it got to the point where we were acquiring so many customers and we were doing so much advocacy and service work that, we thought we had another business here. So we spun another organization from it. And, getting more into the advocacy world has gotten us on the side of working with providers, working with carriers, working with medical billing organizations. And it's really opened my eye to the entire, hemisphere of healthcare as a whole. And so it's two separate companies, but again, they tie into each other. And it's something that we had always been doing anyway, supporting our customers, advocating for our customers. We were just able to turn it into another service.
Awesome. So when it comes to advocating for your customers, and this is what I want to know, because, I'm familiar with driver advocacy with what we're doing at CDL Drivers Unlimited so are you doing similar things where you are engaging with local politicians or federal legislators? Is it this kind of advocacy, or are you so much going out and speaking to businesses, hospitals? Like where does this advocacy point towards that you're
it's
doing?
Patient-centered. It's working with the patients and being their healthcare advocate to make sure that they're not getting burned on their healthcare costs. So we in an ideal relationship, our members will work with us on the upfront before they receive their health care. So if they need to schedule with a specialist or they need to schedule a procedure, we could be involved in that on the upfront. So we can look at their current plan and their policy, and we can determine where can they go receive that care and not get burned, get the best price, right? And ideally be able to tell them down to the dollar amount what their financial responsibility is going to be for that visit or procedure. Have you ever noticed healthcare is the only thing we buy in this country without knowing the price first? And, could you imagine if we bought cars like that? You'd see a lot more Ferraris on the road, drive whatever you want away and, get a bill in 2 months. I mean, that's how our healthcare system is, right? And we're trying to create consumers of healthcare as opposed to the typical victims of the healthcare system, right? So empower the patients to do their shopping and have that price tag be a part of the decision-making process, just like it is for everything else. Now, there's situations where that can't be, it just can't be avoided, where you can't shop for the price up front, right? So a price gouging scenario or a surprise medical bill can't be avoided. Now, in that situation, that's where we can get involved with the patient and go in and work with the providers or the medical groups and dissect the bill. Make sure that the bill is accurate. Make sure that they're getting a free and fair market price for the procedures and services that they received, and also that their insurance is paying out all the benefits that they're entitled to. So I would love to get to a point where we have a voice with some politicians. That'd be great. I could tell them just how, can I be as candid as possible on this show or what?
Oh, absolutely.
I could tell them how fucked up they all are and they don't know anything about healthcare and they shouldn't be making the rules about it. But prior to that, we're with the patients. We're making sure that they don't get burned, and we're negotiating with their medical groups as needed.
This is actually pretty cool because I didn't realize that this is something that even existed. So I'm thinking, in my head, say I get into an accident, in my truck and I'm not at fault or whatever, or say it was weather. Maybe I am at fault, regardless of the at fault. I'm in an accident, but I'm able to walk away, so to speak. Say it's not like I don't have to go away in an ambulance, but I had either a fracture or something happened within this accident where I need ancillary, physical therapy, healthcare. I'd come to you and you're kind of telling me about recommendations of kind of what I should do in the process of how I need to move forward with getting the attention I need, whether it be, if I had a concussion, so I'm going to see a neurologist, should I pay for that? What I should pay for that?
Well, the pricing, yes, right. As far as the path of the care that you need, we don't, that's left to the doctors. But making sure that you're getting billed properly for that is what we want to ensure. And to go back a step to your original, you have an accident, right? That's a situation where you don't want to call your advocate to say, hey, my bone is sticking out of my arm, right? I got in a car accident, my arm's broken. Where should I go so I don't get burned on the price, right? We're just going to tell you, go, right? Go to the ER, man, get your arm fixed. But it's very good possibility that down the road, you're going to get some medical bills for that attention that you received, right? And at that point, we'll dissect those bills. We're going to make sure that you're not getting burned on the price, right? That you're paying a free and fair market price for the services that you receive, because especially in the ER, everything is more expensive in the ER, right? Everything is like 10 to 12 times pricing when you go to the emergency room. So if somebody goes to the emergency room and they're in and out, they can almost guarantee that they'll be getting some bills in the mail for that. And it's never a bad idea to have an advocate scan those bills and make sure that A, you're paying what you're supposed to be paying for the services you receive, and B, you're getting the benefits from the insurance plan that you're paying for.
Nice. Yeah. No, this makes a lot of sense because I've seen those nightmare photos on Instagram or on Twitter that are like, just got my ER bill, or I've seen the bills for a woman who's just given birth, and they charge a fee because like I think it was on my friend's show. I have a couple friends who have a podcast called Hard Factor, and they had a woman on the show who was crying too much while during like giving birth, something outrageous, and they charged
She
her.
got billed extra for that.
Yeah, she got billed extra
Excessive crying.
Yeah, for excessive crying. And then also they have this fee where if you want to hold the baby, like right after it's born, they charge like this nursing fee. So I'm always curious if there was any way or anybody who advocates for those, and that's what you do, which is
I'd get that shit knocked right off the bill. You gonna charge me to hold my kid or because my wife's crying? Come on. But yeah, see that's the kind of stuff that exists, man. And the truth is, 93% of medical bills that come out of the hospital are inaccurate. And unfortunately, it's by design, right? These medical groups have a mentality of throw as much shit against the wall and see what sticks, right? And as Americans, we're programmed to just, here's my card, right? And I get a bill. It's like, oh God, can I pay this bill? If you can't pay the bill, what's the number one cause of bankruptcy in our country, right? We go bankrupt. So people need to understand that those bills are questionable, they're negotiable, they're fightable, and they got to get on board and do that until we get to the point where we could get a politician's ears and get that regulation and that, or those laws or whatever put in place that really puts these providers on notice, man. You can't charge $12,000 for an X-ray. I mean, that's absurd,
No, I agree. And to tap in, this is why I love bringing on the show to a live recording on LinkedIn. A gentleman, a big fan of him, Robert Peterson's, chimed in on LinkedIn. He said, the insurance agents will have to have the same money as the healthcare providers in the pharma industry so that they can lobby. That'd be how to compete. And he goes on to say, and I put the comment up that, there's no profit in people saving money. That's why America is the only country where we're gouged at healthcare. I'm inclined to agree with that, and not to get into like a healthcare debate, but I mentioned at the top of the show, I think what holds a lot of people back from either entrepreneurship, starting a business, going to school, becoming, doing whatever, following some of their passions is the real cost of health. Starting a family is another one. People say, the birth rates are down, this and that. And look, I'm not saying that it's perfect, and I understand, but that's why, like, I go to the VA. I went into the VA once when I had a neck injury some years ago, and I went into the ER and I got an MRI, and I waited an hour to get an MRI on my head because I literally thought that my head was in such a ring of fire. I thought I had a brain tumor. I know people who can't get an MRI for, torn rotator cuff, whatever injury they've got. They have to wait months arguing with insurance. So I understand that just to immediately subsidize it isn't fixing it. People say, well, it'll turn into the DMV. I get that. I'm not trying to say, we should flip the switch and just all of a sudden make tax dollars go towards it. But there's certainly an answer that we can get towards that I think would open it up. And I don't mean to spark that as a debate, but I just think that if we're going to purport to be the best, strongest economy and be the best country, then we should couple it with having the best healthcare. And personally, a reduction in healthcare costs, I just think gives more freedom to people. Like, how many more small businesses would start? Because if I got a wife and 2 kids, I can't just quit my job that has benefits attached to it and go start a business and do that selfishly. So that's another,
I'd love to hit on both of those points because you hit the nail on the head. We hear that all the time. People that want to take a new job, but their healthcare costs fall on them now, so they're weighing their options. Or people that want to start a business, and that's a big part of the decision making process. But then you have, when you talk about the best quality of healthcare. And how we save it and how we get healthcare costs down. There's some laws within the ACA or some regulations within the ACA that drive the cost up, and it's not covering pre-existing conditions, right? The MLR, right, which states that an insurance company has to spend 80% of their revenue on claims, right? So what do you think that does to the premiums? It just, drives it up because now you're only giving an insurance company 20% of their revenue to operate and pay, its employees and pay those CEOs millions of dollars. So what we found recently when it comes to quality of care at the best costs is the free market, right? It's the relationships with the providers and the patients where the insurance companies don't have anything to do with it, right? Where a provider will say, hey, give me cash over the counter and I'll do the MRI for a few $100. You should never pay more than $300 for an MRI, or give me $50 a month or $100 a month and I'll be your primary care physician, and they'll provide actual primary care. This is what we're seeing. This is the movement that we're seeing in the healthcare space. And I really think that as long as this continues to catch on like we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years, that's going to be the highest quality of healthcare that you're going to be able to obtain in our country at a reasonable cost, right? Is that direct relationship. With that being said, catastrophic health insurance and value-based health insurance plans that'll help pay for healthcare costs and things like that, those are all good, right? But the plans that restrict you to where you can go, the plans that make you pay $9,000 out of pocket before they cover anything, there's a better way to get your healthcare delivered to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, last two things on that. I understand Robert's commenting down below about the VA. I don't think the VA, I don't have an altruistic view of it. I think the VA is very only good in specific regions. I think, I was living in New Haven at the time, so it's kind of teamed up with Yale New Haven Hospital. And this is just me touching on a live comment. So the West Haven VA, which feeds off of Yale, is a good area where I would say that possibly the VA in Wichita, Kansas is probably not a good facility with the best talent out there. And then, just to touch on what you said, that fair and free market kind of working itself out, people paying and negotiating that way works. Like you said, catastrophic. Yeah, I just don't think I don't think Americans should ever go bankrupt just because they, got cancer and stuff.
100%.
Like that. That's basically what I'm thinking. But let's get into that, what you do. So we talked about the advocacy, getting down with the, negotiating those bills and kind of doing a good diagnostic on the payments for some of these patients. Well, let's get into what BMT, what do you guys actually do? You work with providers. You have customers that you provide, you work with providers to provide your customers great options for healthcare. So what do you do differently than other companies? And how does this kind of blend in? And how did you get in with, people within the trucking industry?
So the thing that sets us apart in the industry is the advocacy itself, right? Everything we've been talking about. We're primarily, BMT Health is a health insurance agency. We distribute health insurance. We bring agents on board. We develop them. We train them. We teach them to be experts. We teach them about all the different types of policies. They go out and they distribute health insurance. We couple that health insurance with advocacy memberships. Now, our advocacy firm is called MediShield Health Advocates, and that would be the main thing that separates us in our industry of health insurance agencies. Where, what's the goal of a health insurance agency? To drive sales, right? To drive premium, right? Well, yeah, we want to do that because we want to make money, but we want to keep our customers. And the way you keep customers today is you give them a health insurance plan and you teach them how to use it, right? You don't just give them a health insurance plan and say, good luck, and move on to the next guy, right? So that would be the big separating, separating factor from us in our market. How we came across CDL drivers. Truck drivers, as I mentioned back in my hometown, it's a big industry, right? So Elk Grove, the west suburbs of Chicago, big industry, trucking. And so we started acquiring a lot of truck drivers as clients because our primary clientele was contractors, 1099s, small business owners, right? People that buy their own health insurance. That's our market. So we started to acquire a lot of trucking clients, and then we started targeting trucking clients because one of the things that truck drivers need in their insurance plan is they need a policy that stretches across the country, right? They need to be able to use a plan from Illinois to Florida and everywhere in between. And a lot of the policies that are available today are very network driven, right? They're very localized networks. So that's kind of what started us targeting truck drivers. And we've got a YouTube channel, Benefits Management Team YouTube channel, and we put a video out targeting truckers. And the co-founder of CDL Drivers Unlimited, Jim Heffernan, must have been researching at one point, and this was years ago now, 3 or 4 years ago, that he first contacted me. And he said, "Hey, I understand that you specialize in working with truck drivers." And I said, "Yeah, it's big part of our business. We love working with truck drivers. They're great customers, and they need insurance. So yeah, it's a good marriage." And him and I started talking about working together and what he was doing, and whether or not we had the capacity to fulfill the needs of CDL drivers. And the more and more we started working together, the more and more we realized that it's just a good fit for us. And so far, it's been a great relationship, and we're really just teeing off now, right? So this is something we've been talking about. I know it's been at least 3 years, because I remember sitting out by my pool in my backyard during COVID, right, being quarantined, and talking to Jim Heffernan back in 2020, talking about the game plan, and he's got some big goals, and he wants to he just wants to be able to provide the best options for his members. And the more and more he vetted us, I think he thought that we could provide those options as it relates to healthcare.
No, this is awesome, and it's a testament to show where CDL Drivers Unlimited has been. I know listeners to this show, I talk about it pretty often. It's something that's not as new as you said. This is a relationship you formed with Jim a few years ago. Jim, as well as Lee and Lisa Schmidt and several others, have been working for years, making friends with people in health insurance. Members of the federal government, members of Congress, other businesses, to become something that will benefit drivers overall. So this is something that happened 3 years ago, looking at it, because at the end of the day, and I'm not sure if you're able to answer this question, but you've been able to already save CDL DU members some money. And now what I'm curious about is, because I know OIDA does offer, they offer levels of insurance. I'm not sure at the same level of advocacy you do. I don't know if OIDA does what they do with going through people's bills, but basically you're able to save CDL DU members money. Each of them have saved money on their healthcare costs. How are you guys able to do that?
It's really a case-by-case basis. It's each driver and family is going to have a little different situation, right? And the truth is, we talked a little bit earlier about some of the struggles with the ACA, right? Obamacare, for lack of a better term. The truth is, though, for some drivers and for some situations, it makes sense, right? So if it makes sense financially, it might be the way we go, versus a plan that's off the marketplace, right? So with that being said, is we're not biased to any one type of insurance or to any one carrier. It really comes down to the driver, their situation, their family situation, and the needs of them. And then from there, we'll diagnose and make a prescription, so to speak, right? But we're able to help people because we listen to them, we take their situation into consideration, and we make the proper move. If a CDL DU driver situation, if they were in the best fit, then I wouldn't change them. I don't need a customer that bad where I'm going to tell them something that's not going to benefit them and potentially put them in a wrong spot, right? But if there's an opportunity to help, that's what we want to do.
No, that's perfect. And now I guess into my next question, which I'm not sure you're able to answer. Do you know how does this involve also life insurance? Does it go off in that aspect of things, or is this just mainly in healthcare?
We have life insurance. There's a lot you can do with a health and life license, right? And I say this all the time because, again, I'm always bringing in new agents and training the next wave of expert brokers. And I tell them all the time, one of the ways that you could get very lost in our business is being a jack of all trades and a master of none, right? So you can do a ton of things with a health and life license. But the answer is to become an expert on one thing. And that's why when I sit here and I say that, I'm specifically working on behalf of small business owners, contractors, drivers, that's my market, right? And even more specifically, the under 65 health insurance market. So we do offer Medicare. We've got a division for Medicare. We do life insurance and annuities. We've got a division for that. We've even got a small division in the Midwest for property and casualty. And we can take some of that stuff in, but we don't target it. We don't go out and look for it. If a client has a need for it, we can make the recommendation and offer it. But we're healthcare specific, primarily because that's where we're driven to make a difference.
So essentially, yeah, your customers, everything's case by case. There's not, because I remember this from, I had taken employee benefits at one of my first jobs after college. And yeah, I didn't know shit about what it covered. Like it was like high deductible, low deductible. Like I didn't bother to educate myself on it. But in your case, what you're saying is, so if you and I are having a meeting, I'm telling you, okay, I'm married, I have X amount of kids, no kids, 3 kids. You go into, you kind of do a little bit of a diagnostic on, do you go into their medical history as well? Any
health history, income, tobacco use, current medications, current doctors that you may want to, that you have a relationship that you want to make sure accepts whatever plan we look at. So yeah, all that goes into the decision-making process.
Gotcha. No, that makes perfect sense. And now I could ask you, now I've got my own kind of piece of advice and a theory that I think you might understand from, but if you can give, truck drivers out there, one solid, good piece of advice, especially for say if it, well, I mean, now it kind of varies because it splits it up, because there's a big difference between a single truck owner operator and somebody who owns 10 trucks. And maybe this is actually just me asking you what kind of customers you have. Are you seeing do you have customers who are small carriers and then they're 1099 their drivers and you work with that carrier singularly, or do you work with their drivers individually?
We can cut it both ways, right? So if a carrier is going to provide a benefits package, then it's really the carrier's decision. And at that point, we may look at a small group plan. But for most carriers that size or small businesses that size, the benefit really is to break the policies up individually, right? So we can cut it both ways.
Okay, I gotcha. And now, yeah, what's one good piece of advice you'd give out there to any driver who's basically listening when it comes to their healthcare, making a choice, or planning
the
for the
most
future?
Take it back to what I said about one of the first problems when it comes to healthcare. It's lion ass agents. We actually have a series on YouTube called Lion Ass Agents, where I did about a dozen shows where I would shop agents and then I would dissect all the bullshit that they told me at the end. I didn't go beyond a dozen shows because they were all the same lies. And here's the reality. They'll lie about the benefits, but most importantly, because some of those guys are smooth talkers, man, and they know how to close a deal. But if an agent, here's the advice. If an agent is unwilling to send information about the policy that they're discussing with you, if they're not going to send you the details of the plan, then they're bullshitting you, and you need to hang up and not do business with that person right away. The rebuttal that you will get to that objection 100% of the time, because this is how they are trained. And again, this is not the agent's fault. This is the manager's fault, the owner of the agency's fault. They are trained to tell you, I can send you all the details of the policy after you sign up. You give me your credit card, we sign you up, policy goes into effect at midnight tonight, you'll get the details of the plan. They're just trying to close a deal, right? So if they're not willing to send you the information in writing and back up what they're telling you, then they're full of shit. And you'll find that a lot in our industry. So if you're talking to somebody about healthcare and they're an agent and they tell you I'm a broker, I deal with 30 different plans in your area, and they're making it, the deal sound like the best thing since sliced bread, no copays, zero deductible, PPO network, $3,000 max out of pocket for anything. Cool. Send me the details. And when they don't send them, you know that you're dealing with a shyster.
I was going to ask you if you had any specific examples of lion-ass brokers or lion-ass agents, I guess, so to speak. But so those are some of the things you came across of where they'll be like, hey, yeah, low deductible, this. So they'll spit that out, but then they got to wait. Yeah, you've got to buy it before they're giving it to you.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because we've got some live comments coming on YouTube from Bad Bar Trucking. I appreciate you chiming in on this because I feel like this is probably happening to drivers a lot across the country right now because he says the problem is agents are playing off our ignorance. And the truth of the matter is, trucker or not, I mean, I think most people are very illiterate when it comes to these insurance policies. That's the problem with insurance. Like, people are illiterate. It's very easy because you need to have it. They're like, well, shit, if I drop dead tomorrow, or if, if I break, cross the street, get hit by a car tomorrow and I don't have it, I need this. So, they'll be like, I guess I need to just buy it before I get into it.
And based off of some of the policies that I've seen, the current CDL drivers that I've been working with, the CDL DU drivers that I've been working with to this point, knowing what they've been sold, that I guarantee that that's how they were sold. And again, it's not against them, and it's probably not even against the agent, right? That's how the agent was trained. They don't know any better. They're just doing their job and making a sale. And I mean, think about this, man. I'm not a handy guy. I'm not a handyman. I'm not a trucker for that matter. Any one of you guys could explain the details of a trucking engine and I'll listen to it and I'll probably walk away and go, I don't know what the fuck that guy just said, but that's how health insurance is bought today too. And I don't expect, this is what I tell people. I'm going to tell you a lot of stuff about this policy. Okay. When we hang up, it's still going to sound like foreign language, but as long as you have my phone number, right, I can always answer your questions, and we'll always make sure that you use the policy properly because it's bundled with the advocacy membership. Because again, I could sit somebody in a semester's long class and teach them health insurance just like you were learning employee benefits, right? And it was all mumbo jumbo, right? Somebody may ace the test, but that doesn't make them an expert healthcare broker, right? So there's a lot of moving parts to this business, and it's impossible to train somebody or teach somebody about a policy in 30 minutes or 45 minutes and have them fully grasp it and understand it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes some really good sense. And I just want to chime in on one thing because I had a gentleman on the show, a physical therapist, and I wanted to get your take on this basically because his name's Dr. Mark Manera. He came on the show, and he, just like you, similarly, where he started getting into physical therapy. He noticed some of his customers some of his first, customers, patients, were truck drivers who are hurting, suffering from, chronic illnesses coming in. They're in a lot of pain, stuff like that. And he's, now gone on and done his own thing with physical therapy. And when he talks to carriers, I mean, one of his biggest things is he advocates for drivers, maintaining a healthy lifestyle because it's one of the few things that they can also do to reduce their healthcare costs. And now I'm curious on your end, do you agree with that? If you started seeing drivers making healthier transitions or living healthier lifestyles, is that something that's also going to help reduce their healthcare costs? You're not a physical therapist now telling me, you're somebody who's on the brokerage side. So if you're somebody who takes a priority of your health, it's another way to reduce your costs.
100%, because there's no plan out there that you can pay for that's going to reduce your out of pocket. So anytime you go into the healthcare system, you can expect some out of pocket. Not all the time, right? But most of the time, right? With that being said, taking control of your overall health, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not trying to give healthcare advice, but speaking on personal experience, right? Everything stems from nutrition, right? And this is a battle that I've had with my wife. We've been parents now for 10 years. We didn't vaccinate our kids. They've eaten a strictly organic diet their entire lives. They don't even know what it's like to have a fever, right? So I fought my wife for years on the organic food. I'm like, you're fucking killing me, man. I cannot pay for this food anymore. And she's like, well, if we don't pay for this, we're going to pay for healthcare. What do you want to pay for? And until she's proven wrong, I have to believe it, right? So I'm at a point now where I just believe that, nutrition, exercise, healthier lifestyle, 100%, bro. That's a given.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love that anecdotal story out there for anybody listening. And for, my live commenter, Bad Bar Trucking coming in, I do want to say once again, if you struggle with maintaining a healthy lifestyle on the road, it's something I did. I spent 3 years over the road, trained and ran in 5 marathons and I was never off for being sick. So I'd love to help you out. Feel free to reach out to me on social media at Lombard Trucking. Would love to talk to you on there. But no, Drew, this is a fantastic story. And I think there's a lot to be said about your business more than even what you do, but the reason why you started. You got into, you needed to make a little bit more money coming out of personal training. You get yourself into sales experience. And, this show, my show is obviously, it lays on the foundation of trucking. That's why this show started. But I also like to highlight entrepreneurial spirit, health and fitness. There's a lot of other things. And this is just for anybody out there listening. You were in personal training, working at health clubs. You got yourself into sales. And I can't emphasize how important it is. So for anybody out there, especially the small time owner operators out there working, knowing sales and getting into having conversations with, all different sorts of people, very important. And not only did you want to end up wanting to start your own business into it, you could have just started the agency and gone that route, but you've coupled with it the advocacy, which I'm thinking will have a lot of ancillary effects and can hopefully kind of grow it across the healthcare industry. And I want to tap into this comment Robert left earlier on LinkedIn, because I wanted to hear about this, because is this something that makes sense? And is this something that we're kind of building at CDLDU right now? Is he said he's heard of co-ops for PCP, and I don't know what PCP is around here. You are part of a pool of people for a small group of PCPs that provide all general medicine for a good rate. Now, can you touch on that? And is that kind of something, is that where we're headed? Is that kind of what we're doing at CDLDU mixed with BMT Health? Or is this something that, we need to just start seeing in the future?
Well, it's certainly something that we can, recommend and build a package of healthcare insurance around. So what that gentleman's talking about is a direct relationship with your primary care physician, right?
Okay.
Where, say, you'd pay a monthly fee to your doctor, no insurance needed. They're going to cover all your wellness, all your sickness visits. Some will do urgent care. They'll do stitches. They have x-ray machines. They'll do your blood work annually. So now you're paying, even $100 a month, $1,200 a year, and you have literally 95% of your healthcare needs taken care of. You can text these doctors, in the middle of the night if you need to. That's the type of relationship you have with your doctor. The typical doctor at a medical group has a patient panel of 4,000 patients. So the nurse takes you in, takes your vitals, weighs you. The doctor comes in for 5 minutes, writes you a script, and he's on to the next. He's seeing 75 patients a day. A good direct primary care doctor sees 3 to 5 patients a day. They take their time. The visit lasts an hour. They talk about your health care, right? Your actual health care. They'll talk nutrition with you, your lifestyle. And that's really, I touched on it before, but that's the highest quality of healthcare that you can get for your dollar in today's industry. And I do believe that, you're going to see a lot more direct primary care doctors popping up, because people are starting to get hip to it, right? They're starting to get hip to the overprescribing, the pumping of medicines constantly, you know what I mean? And all that shit does is just mask things, right? So people are taking a more holistic approach, even if they're not holistic, right? Because that's a big word. But people are taking a more conscious approach to their healthcare, and they're going to be looking for ways to have their healthcare delivered to them, and get real healthcare advice. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to just, what's wrong with you today? Here's some pills. See you next time.
Yeah, it makes me kind of think of, you'll watch movies and it's the doctor who comes to the house in like the 1800s or something. He comes with the black bag, and the guy lives in your town. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. And when you say the word holistic, I agree with you. We need to, because when people hear holistic, they think like, hippie bullshit or something.
Right.
They think like flowers and grass or something. We need to,
Right.
we'll have to we'll have to coin some new word to come up with that way of, because sometimes when you hear, at least like where I live in Austin, and there's a lot of people around here who love to purport to be these spirit guides and stuff. They use that word holistic and stuff, talking about spiritual shit, and it's like sometimes that word could be a turnoff. So I jive you with that. Now you mentioned, and this isn't really going off topic because I'm curious. You work in the healthcare industry. You were talking about prescription drugs, and I just thought of this as we were talking. And this is kind of how this is how these shows kind of go. But when it comes to prescription medications, there's obviously cost differentials here, and I know you go over these costs and fair and free market price. But this is kind of a little, maybe it's into the weeds a little bit. But a good friend of the show, Ross Kennedy. His name's Map Humanist on Twitter. He's a phenomenal guy. He's gone on my friend Dooner's show at What the Truck to talk about China and the weaponization of the supply chain. Now, and our pharmaceuticals, it looks like, are heavily linked to China, where, I mean, at any given moment, they could, if they wanted to, they could stop giving those pharmaceuticals. And I didn't know if you had any insight or any kind of overall general opinions on, when it comes to these pharmaceuticals, because obviously you said you want to be able to have the money one day to get in the ears of politicians. But it looks like the people who do have the ears of the politicians know that these medicines are kind of linked. They're all linked to China, the manufacturing, that is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I don't know if it's a. I'm not in a position to speak about our relationship with China. But with that being said, when it comes to prescription drugs, if we get a patient that is prescribed something where there's no generic, it's only a formulary brand name, available, and it's a $2,000 drug, we can get that drug overseas at a 95% discount. So for the exact same drug, the exact same label, right? So I do know that for whatever it's worth, when a drug is available here versus in Turkey or in Hungary, we're paying 10 times the cost than what they're paying over there. So we have the ability to go get not every drug, but we can go get a lot of drugs, and we've saved customers quite a bit of money doing that.
Okay, so I'm glad, even though I got kind of into the weeds of the question, that leads to another thing. So you're able to, in the advocacy side of things, with working with BMT Health, you're saying that there's possibilities you can reduce some people's prescription drug costs specific to the drug. Obviously, it's not all of them. So you're able to source some of these prescription drugs from other countries.
100%. Yep.
Really? Okay. That's a huge benefit right there. I don't think a lot of people know about. I don't know anywhere else where that's available. I'm not sure. I've never heard of a health care provider or a health insurance agent ever speak on that ever. So
it's what sets us apart, baby.
Yeah. So that's a huge benefit right there.
Yeah.
But hey man, if you got anything else you want to lay out on the track, I'd love for you to just send it out with how people can find you, how they can access your services, especially if they're over the road, a small business. But yeah, if you got any last remarks you want to kind of close this out with, because or if we didn't cover something you wanted to lay on the track, let it rip.
No, I think we went over a lot. I appreciate the time. I love what you guys are doing with CDLDU. Everybody I've talked to has been awesome, and I knew it was going to be a good relationship because I say I'm a blue collar guy in a white collar world. So I love working with truck drivers, and I love working with Jim, and the guy likes to get shit done, and that's what we're doing now. We're getting shit done. You can go to my website, bmthealth.com, go to the contact us page, put a little message in there where you got our info from. And I'll personally reach out to you, and I'd love to look at your healthcare options and see if we can help you. But I really appreciate the platform, Mike.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's what I aim to do with this show. I've mentioned it time and time again. was, no matter what, I have no foresight or any idea in my mind of a final destination of the show. It's just that it's just going to keep going, and my friend Gordon and I say this all the time. We don't purport to know the solutions. There's problems out there. We don't know the solutions. So what I'm going to do is continue to keep talking about them until we find them. And I think with having a conversation with a gentleman like yourself and even finding out so much more about BMT health, I think this is kind of getting us towards those solutions because, I mean, if you have that stat in your mind, I believe that there is a percentage stat of drivers who are uninsured at the moment. Do you know that number off the top of your head?
Uninsured, I think it's like 25% are uninsured.
And if
Yeah,
if we're talking numbers here, just say we toss out that number of 3 million, say there's 300, say there's 3 million CDL holders out there or truck drivers out there without health insurance. That's a lot of people. And not only that, what's equally as worth, just like we've mentioned on the show before, this is an industry that removes 11 years off your life as it is. With the development of chronic illness. Every chronic illness out there, from diabetes, heart disease, is double what it is for the rest of the civilian population, and 25% of them are uninsured. And then on top of that, not only are they uninsured, if they want to go get it, they've got lion-ass brokers, they've got everything up against them. But at the end of the day, there's guys like you who are out there who've decided to step up and do what others aren't doing, but hopefully a lot more will follow. But man,
appreciate
Drew,
that.
yeah, I really appreciate what you guys got going on. And I want to thank you for coming on the show. And we'll definitely have to do this again. And we'll be in touch. And I hope, you're able to help as many drivers as you can.
Awesome, Mike. Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, man, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Great.
Well, there it is. That's episode 101 of the Lombard Trucking Show in the books. Fascinating conversation with Drew Ellefsen right there. Definitely go check him out. He is on LinkedIn. Go check out his company's website, bmthealth.com. They got a lot of good stuff going on right there. You heard the numbers right there. 25% of truck drivers in this country go without health insurance. That's an alarming number for people out there who literally are putting their lives at risk every single day. Every time they start that engine and go out there, remains in the top 10 most dangerous jobs in the country. As of every year, it remains in the top 10 most dangerous. And these people, once again, our America's truck drivers aren't being taken care of, but guys like Drew are out there stepping up, trying to provide a good service out there, especially on that advocacy side. This is something I see friends of mine of both sides of the political aisle talk about. They are talking about, everybody's talking about healthcare and whether they think that universal healthcare could be an answer or opening up the market. Both agree that we need a little bit less regulations. There's a lot of money in it from a lot of bad players, including insurance companies and, big pharma representatives. I mentioned at the end of the show, we have a lot of our pharmaceuticals are linked to China. This isn't conspiracy. This isn't myth. It is true, along with a lot of other things in our economy. China has weaponized our supply chain, even to the point of pharmaceuticals, as well as vitamins and essential nutrients that go into animal feed and other parts of dietary foods that go into the livestock industry and stuff right there. But that'll do it for episode 101. You know where to find me everywhere on social media at Lombard Trucking. And once again, to respond out there to gentlemen like Bad Bar Trucking, I appreciate you checking me out live on YouTube. If you're ever looking for any guidance on your health and wellness out there as an over-the-road truck driver or as a broker or somebody who's just at a desk all day, please feel free to reach out. That is what I'm doing. That's what I'm full steam ahead on. It's helping people live better, happier lives. That's what I stand for, is giving you more life and more entertainment out of your life, whether it be at the show or you getting after it in the gym. And like we also mentioned, once again, a great way to reduce your healthcare costs is just by maintaining a healthy, sustainable diet, as well as moving that body, getting out there, going for that walk. Humans were meant to walk. That's why we evolved to being what we are today. But with that, guys, that'll do it. 101 in the books. Napoleon reaction coming up very soon, as well as a lot more fun interviews lined up. Been talking with drivers, met a lot of people at F3 who I can't wait to have on the show, especially the gentlemen over there at Highway who are fighting all that fraud in the freight industry, like against our notorious great friend G-Face out of Glendale, California. But with that, guys, that'll do it. We're back to the bench. Take care.